the show, 5-Star Fam. I'm AJ, and this is Michael. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. Welcome to another episode of 5-Stripe Weekly, and Atlanta United, they drew the Columbus Crew 1-1 at the Benz to a record-setting crowd to a degree. We'll get to that later, but yeah, it was a bit of a slog to a degree, but we were able to pull out a result due to a last-minute Miles Robinson heroic header. But yeah, this match, man, we were kind of dominated in some aspects. And Columbus Crew, they looked hella dangerous. I am very fearful for anybody that faces them in the playoffs because, yikes. Anybody that can do what they did to us at the Benz, I mean, they have to be favorites because I have not seen a team pretty much dominate possession like that at the Benz in quite some time, if ever. And, you know, I'll get your thoughts on that in a second, Michael, but yes, definitely shouts out to our Patreon members who have helped to pledge at a higher level. Gavin Marshall, Jordan Beck, Nal Faruqi, Andrew Rowicki, Ariel Costa, Chris James. Definitely, yes, shouts out to you guys. And also, we're on the road to 10,000 subs, so if you're new around here, definitely hit that sub button. We put out videos every single week on Atlanta United. But, yeah, Michael, I mean, this Columbus Crew team, I mean, are they the type of club that, put some fear into your heart?
Absolutely. I did not expect this game to unfold this way. I don't think many people did. I mean, considering everyone expected it to be a heavyweight showdown with a lot of goals scored, only 1-1 at the end of the game. Seemed to be more of what people were describing as a chess match than it was just a bunch of haymakers from heavyweights. So, tactically speaking, it sounds like when Gonzo was talking about the game at the press conference, he took responsibility on perhaps getting some of the tactics wrong this game. Nancy's a tough coach to go up against. Gonzo gave him his plaudits for, tactically going into this game very effectively. His team executed it perfectly, and Atlanta United had a hard time kind of adjusting, and they made adjustments at the half, and they were able to do some, claw back in terms of like possession and trying to clog up Columbus's attacking lanes, but it wasn't enough to get 3 points at the end of the day, and it wouldn't have been a deserved 3 anyway. Columbus, through the entirety of the match, I mean, up until the very end, had pretty much dominant possession, ended around 50-50. But, I mean, their shots on target, their passing accuracy in the opponent's half was in, like, the high 80s in the first half. I think it was in, like, almost the 90s. That is unacceptable for a defense, a midfield, just a team that's trying to hold it down at home. I mean, no one expected that to be the case. We thought we would be able to really put a stamp on the game. We weren't able to get one hand, definitely not two, on this game. Columbus ran away with it, and we're lucky not to have them score a lot more goals. It could have been that way. We also could have gotten a couple goals our way as well. Strangely enough, Yorgos didn't score a couple of sitters he really should have. I don't know what's going on with that. That was a little peculiar. Usually I feel like he bags those. So we could have maybe had a goal or two more. They easily could have had a goal or two more. It was very concerning as an Atlanta United fan watching this game.
Yeah. And yeah, like you were alluding to with the stats, I mean, yeah, the shots were 22-10 from Columbus, 22, and us only 10. And yeah, we did have 4 shots on target to their 6, but yeah, I mean, large in part, I mean, the XG 2.15 for Columbus, us 1.12. We were fairly lucky to, yeah, pretty much like rescue this, because it is, GG. I think we should touch on that. That's, he's been slumping a little lately. He seems to be pressing a little bit, trying very, very hard to get on the score sheet. And, man, it's just not happening for him at the moment. As it seems like when he can see one ripple the back of the nets, he really gets fire and gets going. But until he does, like, he's kind of it's almost that penalty that Almada took. Obviously, you want your strongest penalty taker to take it, but I mean, that would have done wonders for his confidence, I feel like. And maybe he would have made this a different match, possibly, if he's that type of player that just needs to be the hot hand. He needs to he needs that confidence booster. And obviously he wasn't able to get it in this match. But also as well, our wings, they were pretty much nullified. I mean, yes, we had the midweek match, in which case, some fatigue definitely probably had set in, but Saba and Silva really didn't really offer a ton, as, it seemed like Columbus Crew, with their three-man back line and, packing the midfields, it really kind of just, they were able to shift quickly over to our wings and kind of not really make them very, it's like Shada Silva looked pretty much like where he was non-effectual, like not a player that could really impact the game, and that's been that's an anomaly. I mean, Silva has been, really very much a player that when he's on the pitch, I mean, he's going at guys. He's, getting guys almost sent off, or, definitely getting carded or subbed off at halftime. Looking at you, George Campbell. I mean, it's a pretty stark thing in this match, and I think it's probably also speaking to the quality of Columbus Crew. And so, I mean, Saba subbed off as well. Mosquera looked a lot more dangerous to a degree, but I think maybe just because he's an agent of chaos. So, he was just trying to make things happen. Whether he, was consistently making the right decision in the final third or not. Some of his touches were a little heavy, but ultimately, I mean, he did kind of help us kind of progress into their final third, which I think was something that we couldn't do in the first half. That's for damn sure. But I mean, it's I think it is that, like, Pineda admitting that he could have done a little bit better, and the team probably working a little bit better in terms of off the ball. I mean, they showed this, though. It's always this. Atlanta United, they played to the final whistle, and we just we're the cardiac kids. We don't know when we're beat, and we always leave it late. Something always happens, whether we draw the match or we win it. It's dramatic. So, I mean, in a way, this is what we've asked for. And this is what a previous CEO has promised. But, how's your heart, after that type of match? Is it, are you on the brink of arrest, or is it a little less than that?
I mean, it's I mean, I get into a pretty dismal state watching 90 plus minutes of us just not being able to break through. And so going into the end, I mean, I always feel like we have a chance, so I'm never going to turn the TV off or something like that. But, when I just have that much of like a, wow, we just got outplayed this entire game, that feeling going in towards the end, like, yeah, sure, I root for a goal and I want for a goal, but it's just like at that point, it's like, yeah, but the game didn't go the way we wanted. There's systematic issues, in the entirety of this game that happened that made me sad to see. If we were playing really well and we were still kind of like going toe to toe with them, and then we like scored a late one to come back or something, I'd be like, this is exciting and like, wow, thrilling and everything like that. But I don't want to have to claw back a goal just to barely survive when we're getting pummeled by another team at home. That's not really. I mean, it's exciting still to a degree that we came back, but a little bit of it is dampened because of the fact that we just played such a stinker of a game.
Well, I mean, I hear you there. I think there's also maybe the aspect that we should consider that the other team can tactics too, right? And so they obviously, with their, I think they have obvious superior quality in midfield with Darlington, Nagbe, and at points, Nagbe and Gressel, they were, kind of punishing us on our left side, but we were able to deal with it for the most part. But those early balls were very dangerous. But it's that, like, Wilfred Nancy, the Columbus Crew, they had a hell of a transfer window comparable to ours. But I think, they also brought in some guys that were maybe a little bit more acclimated to MLS, and Diogo Rossi, Julian Gressel. Those are players that know MLS through and through. Even though Rossi has, been in Europe, but it's that. I mean, shoot, it's like they just look like a team that is fairly complete. I mean, They have a Cucho Hernandez as well. That, I mean, he just keeps scoring. It's, the goal against us, a little bit our fault. Probably a lot of bit our fault in terms of maybe in our midfield. Hosetu, unfortunately, in that sense. But, yeah, the Cucho Hernandez strike. I mean, can you knock Brad Guzan on this goal, or, was it pretty much just it was past him?
I mean, he tried to make his body as big as he could and take up space. The guy shot it with such power and from such short distance that I'm not gonna blame him. I mean, like, at that point, I feel like, because the shot wasn't great, it was not, it wasn't put away from Brad that he just couldn't get to it. He could have gotten to it if he just kind of picked the right place to wave his arm, but he just didn't, and he threaded the needle. So it's not as if, like, he needs better, like, he didn't have the reaction time. I don't think anyone has the reaction time to definitely go, well, if I was quicker, I could have gotten to that. I don't think any goal, like, regularly a goalie is going to be able to be like, okay, I can see it coming and then block it at that range. It's just so fast and it's so hard. I don't know. I'm not going to blame Brad for that. I mean, he could have very easily saved it, but I'm not going to say, like, well, obviously it's just a lot of skill he had. He just would have put his arm in the place to have blocked it. And honestly, probably would have been lucky, because it's not like I said, he like thought about it and went, my hand needs to be here to block it. Just flails and hope he catches it, because at that time it's just so fast.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that miss that with, good reaction time. But Brad Guzan, with his reaction time at his age, yeah, I mean, that's a lot to ask right now. So, yeah, I agree. It's really not something that I think we can knock Brad Guzan for. But you still see it on all the social medias and all that, yeah, Brad Guzan, he needs to go, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, yeah, it's not on this play that, the cries are justified. Like, I mean,
he had a great game outside of that goal, so.
Yeah, exactly. Some of those kick saves were some of the best he's done, and that's because his positioning was solid. That's because, he was able to react well with his feet. And that's the thing. It's like, I think he's really good at saving with his feet. His hands, that's another thing. That's that's gone a little bit, unfortunately, and that's kind of part of the thing that's going on with our goalkeeper position. But yeah, I mean, this goal from us. Yeah, I mean, it happened so late. It's in the 97th minute. Almada, yeah, he assists it from the corner. It's his 17th of the season, and yeah, I mean, it's just like his delivery. It's always just really reliable. And Miles Robinson, I mean, he is able to raise high and head it down into the ground and into the far post. Technically, I mean, he, the corner came from the right. Miles Robinson was at the back post, and he has it into the technically the near post. But either way, I mean, yeah, Robinson. It's his second goal of the season. I mean, it's kind of that. It just shows you, like, when you score, you have a little bit more confidence that, okay, I can do this. And he's been scoring some very very crucial headers for us, and unfortunately, we don't really get anything in terms of the a bump in the standings per se, but it keeps us in the place that we have a fighting chance of maybe getting something, of at least getting a better spot in terms of who we play. So at least on that, against FC Cincy on decision day, that could happen. But unfortunately, the top 4 spot, that is gone. And it's a bit of a bummer because we only have one home playoff match, and home field advantage is definitely something that we really needed. We're not that type of team that can really always pull out a result on the road, so it's a little bit concerning, maybe a lot of bit concerning. But but what are your thoughts on all that?
So on the goal, I thought it was a little encouraging seeing on the back post, even like around Miles Robinson, if Miles didn't get to that ball, or if there was a rebound from the goalie save, we had like Yorgos and Wiley, and like we had guys there to tap it in, and or if Miles missed it, like just to get on that. All those players were unmarked. Like, this was a free header tap in for like 3 or so Atlanta United players. Columbus really switched off at the end there. I think them trying to put in players at the very end to time waste came back and bite them in the butt, because the players didn't know their assignments, they weren't at the game speed enough to kind of get ready for a last ditch effort. I mean, karma's a bit of a bitch, and that's what happens sometimes. So, I mean, like we kind of celebrated, and Gonzo kind of celebrated in the press conferences, Nancy's tactical acuity for this game, but I think that was a mistake at the end.
For sure. And also, I mean, maybe the distraction from Braguzan, who came up for that corner as well.
Yeah.
And, he shows up in those photos, in the scenes, in the celebration, and, out of context. That's got to be some of the strangest photos from the season, I'm sure, because, you just see Braguzan mauling Miles Robinson after a goal. It's just, I think some people might forget, that happened because he didn't score it. But, at the end of the year, I'm sure if those photos are maybe shown, they're quite funny. It's just one of those, you almost hope anytime a keeper comes up that they can score, just so that the other team can feel that embarrassment a little bit, because you never want to have another goalkeeper score on you, even in a penalty shootout. Like, that's just not a good look. But so in terms of final thoughts on this match, what do you have?
This is a match that didn't go the way that we expected. Kind of humbled us a bit, shocked us a bit. we thought Mercedes-Benz may be turning into a fortress. It's still yet to be seen if that's going to be the case going forward. We've done some pretty good work against some pretty bad teams and some struggling teams once, after Leagues Cup. And when we're tested against playoff teams, we haven't really gotten great results. Yeah, we had the 2-0 win against Philly, and that was even without our new signings at home. But outside of that, I mean, we haven't had good results against playoff level teams, and that's really foreboding. That's very worrying and ominous leading into the playoffs. I don't like our chances, so we will see how that how that cookie crumbles. But like I said, I'm not looking forward to the flavor of that.
Yeah, it's one of those. What's your least favorite cookie flavor? Because I think it's probably. I mean, for me, it's like the bland sugar cookie is like, I could do without it. It's not really that interesting.
I can do the sugar cookies. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if I dislike really a kind of cookie that much. I don't know if I dislike any.
At the end of the day, it's all sugar, right?
Maybe cinnamon is that can be a little too much sometimes. Cinnamon cookies, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little bit partial to an oatmeal cookie, but oatmeal raisin cookie anyway. But anyway,
raisin cookie I could probably do without. That's probably a good shout.
Hater. Anyway, but to wrap a bow on this match, yes. So we will be playing FC Cincy on Decision Day on October 21st, and obviously that will be some ways away. So the preview will be coming next week. But let's get into the news, and those standings look like this. So right now, if the playoffs started, because we are in 6th. And how it sits right now with FC Cincy up top. Of course, the Supporter Shield winners. Orlando City in 2nd. Philly in 3rd. Columbus at 4th. New England at 5th. And us, of course, in 6th. It shakes out that we played the Philadelphia Union, which, of course, we lost 3-2 controversially. And, of course, as Michael alluded to, that we beat them 2-0 at home. So it's maybe a decent shout as a matchup that's maybe could be favorable, but we shall see. It's just one of those, maybe there are some other ones that could be a decent play as well, but we need to take care of business. That's the crux of it on Decision Day, in which case FC Cincy, who knows if they will rotate? We'll find out, but I see no reason for them to rotate because, they don't play a match for a little bit of time after that. So I would imagine they would play their strongest 11. But, that's going to remain to be seen. But in terms of that matchup, I mean, you kind of talked about it a little bit. But, is there some maybe trepidation if we do have to face Philly?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, Philadelphia's a good team. They're the runners-up last year for the Cup. I mean, they've done pretty well this season, too. I don't know if they're the same level. They're still pretty good, but they're definitely something to take, some precautions with. It's not a team to be trifled with. They can beat us, and I would say maybe 60-40. They can beat us. If we play them 10 times, they'll probably beat us 6 or 7 of those times. I think we could probably sneak out 3 or 4 if we're lucky against them in a series or something like that. Obviously, the playoffs are not played like that, so we're gonna have to get lucky in trying to get some wins against them. I don't see that happening. I think Philly's gonna play us tough. I think they're gonna hang a lot of goals on us in Philadelphia. I think we may beat them here, but it won't be by very much. And I think going back to Philadelphia, we're going to get dealt with. Hopefully it's not embarrassing. Hopefully we can stick it out. We can give them a good fight. We gave them a good fight in the last game away at Philadelphia, but he never said die. However, they were a very tired team, and they really kind of poured it on us in the first half and didn't have much else in the second half. That won't be the case going up a fully rested, fully ready to go Philadelphia team in the playoffs. So, yeah, I'm not super looking forward to playing really any of the playoff teams. Maybe New England would have been nice because they seem to just be in a spiral, having some issues. So it could take advantage of that. And the other teams, I mean, this is a thing that we talk about in the Discord sometimes. We talked about in some live streams. Atlanta United has a big difficulty with the midfield. Mayumba has done a lot to address some of the deficiencies we have there, but we still have at least half of it in the double pivot not being up to the level that we really need. Maybe, and also the rest of the team isn't fully gelled with the midfield yet either. This results in other teams identifying that is our weak spot, as they've done all season long, basically, and to clog the midfield, force us into the flanks where we desperately lob in crosses and try and do something where most teams can easily defend it at that point. We were able to dismantle a lot of teams after the after Leagues Cup when we got those transfers in, that were teams that just weren't very good, and they didn't know that, you know, to stop Tristan Mayumba from connecting lines, all you have to do is overload the heck out of the midfield and just like double cover him, and he'll pass to Husetu, who will pass to a wing, or he'll pass backwards and they'll recycle it to fullbacks or something. They're not going to connect the lines through the midfield and become dangerous, you know, right up the spine. If you have a good midfield going up against them. So it seems like all of these playoff teams, the difference is having a significantly superior midfield. That seems to be a difference to me in the quality of these teams versus the other teams that either don't make the playoffs or are lower in the standings of the playoffs. So I expect that to be the case. I expect that to be the playbook on how to play us. I expect Philadelphia to try and do this. You know, we talk about the famous diamond Philly likes to sport. It has been infamously difficult for us to get through, forces us down the flanks, and we struggle sometimes creatively to get anything going from that. But like we saw in the last game, we aren't completely toothless. Even if that occurs, we can do something, and we also showed it at the end of the Columbus game. We can claw points, we can claw results. Hopefully we can get something in the away games, and if that's the case, then we can absolutely take care of business at home if we are on top of our game. If not, a lot of times people talk about the two Atlanta Uniteds, which one who shows up, you know, the one who gives up points and lets teams run all over them. They seem disconnected. They seem confused. They seem like they haven't played with each other before. Or the team that comes in and just straight dominates, like against Miami at home. If the latter shows up, we'll be looking good. The former, there's going to be trouble.
Yeah, we're a little Jekyll and Hyde sometimes, that's for sure. And against top teams, yes, there is some difficulty. But yeah, of course, we will talk about that in some future episodes and some playoff previews as well. But let's move on to our next bit of news in Miles Robinson making the MLS Team of the Match Day with his header, with his defending as well. Yeah, besides the goal that was given up, which probably wasn't really even his fault. Yeah, Miles Robinson had a hell of a match. Yeah, he was basically that safety valve for us. At one point, yeah, one of those balls that Julian Gressel put in behind was dealt with very well by Miles Robinson, and yeah, it's just, whoa, like we're gonna miss this guy, that's for sure, because I have no idea, and I probably, like I said on the stream, I don't see why he would stay. Like, if the chance for him to move to Europe is now, he should take it, and yeah, we're gonna have to find a replacement for Miles Robinson. But yeah, as well. As talked about in the review a little bit, there was a record that was broken in terms of attendance, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they have now, yeah, we're LA United anyway, the fastest team in MLS to reach 5 million spectators that have attended an MLS regular season match. And yeah, I mean, 5 million is wild. And it also shows you how, in one sense, how Atlanta United fans have really not been spoiled. Frank de Boer. We've shown up, and we've shown up in droves year after year, even when the majority of our existence has not been what most of the fans would deem up to par or acceptable. And yeah, 3 of those years were very, very good, but 4 of the years so far have not been spectacular. It's definitely been more exciting this year in the latter half, but yeah, I mean, we've shown up. I mean, what does that 5 million number mean to you?
I mean, it shows. I mean, this is something kind of, if people follow the meteoric rise of Atlanta United and they compare, fan bases to one another, this kind of cements the concept that Atlanta United is kind of the biggest, the most passionate fan base in all of MLS, which is something to be very proud of, something to be excited for. This is the team that people always encourage others to come and experience. Speaking international travelers coming to see, people who have never watched a soccer game coming to see. We did interviews after the Newcastle and Chelsea game here at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And people are just like, this is an amazing stadium. Like, we need to come watch an Atlanta United game. I mean, this is it's a world-class experience, and that is why we have so many fans. And even if the product isn't as stellar as we'd like it to be, it's still, for the most part, a great time, an exciting time, and a wonderful party atmosphere to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's as an experience goes, I think that speaks volumes, because that's what it is. Like, the supporters, the club, they've cultivated that, and that's very, very important. And yeah, hopefully the club can continue to kind of use those resources, the ample resources that it has, to replenish and pump it back into making us where we want it to be. But next bit of news, is that Almada, with his 17th assist of the season, he now has 29 assists in his Atlanta United career. And he is now, I think, in second in our he breaks the tie with Miguel Almiron, and he's just behind, oddly enough and funnily enough, Julian Gressel, who's the leader in assists in our club history at 35. So I mean, he hasn't really even been here that long, but Julian Gressel, I guess, technically wasn't really here that long either. I mean, he was here for 3 or so years essentially. And so, I mean, almost already there. And, if he plays another year, no doubt he would pass him. That's for sure. But, did that hold any meaning to you? I mean, do you want him to break Julian Gressel's assists record?
I don't really care if he breaks it. I think, he's doing fine. He's doing great in terms of assists and things like that. Julian Gressel did great. It doesn't hold any significance to me if he breaks the record or not. Everyone's gonna know he's gonna go down in Atlanta United history as a special player, a player that he's remembered for various things. The assists are always great and all, but he doesn't even need that for to be remembered. He'll always be remembered, so far, at least I know, as the sniper, this free kick legend. That to me is something that's going to live forever, more so than his assists, just because it's so much more kind of clear in the mind's eye when you remember the impacts he has on a game. Of course, the more quieter impacts, all the great assists he has, essential to winning games and things, but it's going to be the flashy stuff that sticks with me. And man, oh man, his free kicks, his Fuerte Apache shirt, all that kind of stuff. that like hearing Kevin Egan and Mike Conti lose their absolute minds watching him score at the last minute from just an insane distance and doing it twice in one game, like that's going to be the legacy in my mind.
And though, I mean, maybe better question yet, will he be maybe was it iconicized or cemented in maybe league history by winning an MLS MVP for us this season?
I don't think he's going to be able to edge out Acosta, unfortunately. I would love him to. That would be great. That would be a really good accolade. That would be something I would appreciate him getting, because I think on, with like a better team around him, he could easily get MVP one year. So if he sticks around like another year, there's a big chance he's going to have a lot to say about MVP, because we'll be a more reinforced, a better squad next year. I mean, you put Almada on Cincinnati, and he might be putting up like insanity numbers. So, take that for what it's worth.
Right. But moving on to the next bit of news, that may not be the case, at least according to this transfer rumor. So Inter Milan, they reportedly were interested in Thiago Almada for the winter window. And Garth Lagerwey, of course, he said time and time again that Atlanta United would love to have Thiago Almada next season. But if that's his wish and the offer is reasonable, the Argentine could depart the club. That's according to a tweet by Henry Higuita. And it's not exactly new news that Inter Milan are and have been interested. But obviously, if he does move in the winter window, we have some moves that we need to make to kind of restock the coffers a little bit. And that's our biggest and best player that we would have to replace there. So definitely would be massive news if that did happen. But yeah, I mean, your thoughts on Inter Milan and their interest in Almada?
I mean, I'm happy that, a big club like that is interested. It shows that things are going in the right direction. Italy might not be a bad place for him, but I don't know how serious this rumor is, how serious it is. I wouldn't put a lot of stock into it. We'll see, what ends up happening. I think maybe there should be more transfer rumors tied to him first before we hear, we kind of come close to one of them being selected, or one of them, Thiago, and eventually going to one of them. Like if we hear multiple clubs talking about it, not just one. I think when it's just one, I think it's a little premature. It's a little early. So we'll see. I'm just hoping to hear more clubs inquire and in more serious fashions.
Right. And it's also this. A lot of Italian outlets are not really the most trustworthy, but, we'll pretty much, clock it, and we'll take it with a grain of salt. But, yeah, it is very much so. I think when other countries' clubs kind of come in, okay, maybe that can be taken a little bit more seriously. But anyway, let's move on to Atlanta United facing FC Juarez in a friendly match next Saturday, October 14th at 10 a.m. at the training grounds. FC Juarez, of course, is a Liga MX side, and getting some good basically fitness to keep sharp for the match against FC Cincy will be very important. And so, I see it as an absolute win to do that. And it's, a good thing that LA United is doing that. I don't think there's going to be a stream. I don't think there's going to be any fans allowed. 10 a.m. I think that's pretty much a point of, we're playing this behind closed doors, and this is for fitness. But, you have any thoughts on this friendly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would have much import regardless. Most of our big heavy hitters are away on international duty. So, this would be, our depth pieces are players that didn't get called up, and then, whoever else they want to fill in. The blanks with two, like you said, get fitness, stay sharp, which is imperative and very good. I'm really happy, like, you said, that they're doing this. It's very, very good with eyes on Cincinnati. But, like, again, I mean, I have no idea how Juarez is going to want to play this game, if they're just going to use their academy or what have you, like they've done, like some Mexican teams have done in types of exhibition games in the past. Atlanta United's played them in, and some other MLS teams. This is a team that barely made it out of Leagues Cup groups and then got absolutely thrashed by LAFC. They don't typically get very high in League MX standings, if I remember correctly. They're not one of like the how do they say it? Yeah, gigantes, like the gigantics of Mexico. They do not count among those ranks. So, I wouldn't put any stock into it. I think it's whatever. If there's no stream, no big deal. You're not going to miss anything in my estimation.
Right. There's that, and it's also, FC Juarez probably got a bag for this. So, yeah, that's why they're coming. And, cool. Like, it's all going to just be, like, we have money to throw at them probably, and, it's good for us. But unfortunately, what's not good for us and also not good for Machop Chol is, unfortunately, he underwent a surgery. He did successfully, though, which is good, but to repair a thigh tendon injury on his hamstring. But unfortunately, obviously, this means that he'll be sidelined for the remainder of the 2023 season. So, yeah, not great for Chol. That option off the bench that, I mean, pretty much he's that anomaly off that bench. Like, he's a good piece to have because, he's someone that you can kind of play as a target forward sometimes. You can have him dribble, and take on players as well. He can play as a wing back. He's kind of a little bit of a Swiss Army knife in attack. So, yeah, unfortunately, we will miss him and his flexibility and utility when we get into the playoffs. So, yeah, it's a miss, I think. But definitely best wishes to Chol going forward and his recovery. But moving on to the call-ups. So Thiago Almada with Argentina, Gigi with Greece, Saba Lapsenice with Georgia, Miles Robinson with the U.S. men's national team, of course, Luis Abram with Peru, and Caleb Wiley. He makes the Olympics training camp for the U.S. youth national team, and hopefully he will get called up to the actual Olympic team in the future. But definitely congrats to all of them. And as well, Sebastian Guerra of Atlanta United 2. He's also been named to the Colombia men's U23 youth national team. And Noah Cobb, he's also among one of the 3 alternate selections for the U.S. roster for the U.S. youth national team. So definitely, we have a lot of players that are on international duty. Always a little scary. What are your thoughts on, just international breaks in general, and especially this one right before the playoffs, or our decision day and then the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a deeper conversation to be had about international breaks and their place and how many there are. And I know some of the coaches in MLS and other places have kind of gone off on this in the media a bit about, this is a little ridiculous with how many breaks there are and things like that. I think even Tata Martino has said something along those lines at one point. I mean, like, I these are obviously necessary things. I don't know all of them are, but like, we obviously have to have national teams. We absolutely have to have practice and games for them. That's important. That won't go away. I don't know if these types of things change in the future about when they're scheduled and things of that nature, how many games. But just in terms of Atlanta United, I'm always a little just weary because I've been burned in the past. You see Miles Robinson go away to a United States men's national team training camp. I think it was a training camp. And he was supposed to, a couple of days later, play in the 2019 Eastern Conference Final against Toronto. And he gets an injury just doing like sprint training. He didn't even play any games. And that was extremely frustrating because I think part of the reason we lost that game is because we didn't have Miles Robinson. So when I hear international breaks, I still get a little paranoid in that, oh man, are we going to lose one of our key pieces going into a very, very difficult part of our schedule? Playoffs are obviously a very difficult part. I mean, someone like Yorgos gets injured. I mean, what are you going to do? Tiare is on this concussion protocol maybe still. We don't know. I haven't heard any updates on that. I mean, what are we going to do with that? Machop Chol can't come in middle anymore because of his injury. I mean, it always gives me a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety. But for the most part, everyone comes back fine. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, hopefully so. Because, Miguel Berry's season is not a thing. And, Whew, yep, it is pretty much that. I mean, you just hope for the best. And, I mean, it's always... it's your best players, because for obvious reasons, they get taken away. And, it's incredibly worrying. But anyway, that pretty much is the news. And that gets us into the mailbag. And you guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue to do so, and we might answer your question in the future. But first question comes from Smoky Karaoke. Love that name. Happy the signings are hitting. Fearful it saved Boca's job. Think he should be retained. What do you think?
I think probably. He has demonstrated that he can, underneath Garth's direction and parameters he's likely set up for Boca, that he can kind of hit on what he needs to hit on. Seems to be working out. I mean, that to me affords him more time, and I believe in Garth's eyes, it's similar. I think that, he probably gave Boca and some other staff members the ultimatum in the beginning when he got there with, I'm going to give you a chance to, correct the direction that the boat is going in. Can you do that? If you can, then we'll talk. And I think they've done it. So they're going to talk, and we'll see if he sticks around. But I think he made a fair case for doing so. I think a similar thing happened with Gonzalo Pineda as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'd be curious if that conversation actually happened, because it's also kind of looking into kind of like workplace dynamics. I mean, that pretty much would be unsettling, I think, to a person that you employ. And so in that sense,
it could also go without saying. So
exactly.
The writing was probably on the wall.
I think definitely is. I think that's definitely probably if we give Garth Lagerwey as much credit as we do, I would think he absolutely is thinking all that. Whether he actually said that or not to either Boca or Pineda, that's the other question. And,
literally, he said to Boca, "One more Rosetto and you're out of here, kid."
Right, exactly. And it's like, at that point, that's when people start looking for other jobs. So it's like,
he interviewed in for a Scottish team. Remember?
He did, and so it very well maybe could have happened, but it also he could have been approached, because obviously he is a former Rangers player, and so it is one of those things where reaching out to guys that have had a modicum of success in their history, and have had success elsewhere. It's kind of what clubs do a little bit. So I mean, it's like examples very much all over the sport, but I mean, you see it with Arsenal and Adu, Yeah, you see it with Ajax. You see it with Bayern Munich. I mean, yeah, it often happens. And yeah, even say like Chelsea with formerly Petr Cech. But in terms of like front office jobs, anyway. But anyway, so next question comes from, if my mouse can scroll correctly, P Magnus N. What do we need to do or change to stop being mediocre, become a top 3 club?
So harkening back, if you will, come with me to earlier in the conversation in this episode about our midfield woes. I think strengthening our midfield more, hopefully with something like, a very, very high, replacing a very, very high TAM player of another very high TAM player, or a DP player would be ideal and nice. I would love to see that. That double pivot has got to be extremely strong, and it's got to be extremely progressive, able to get the ball forward and attacking. That's the style we play. That's how we want to play. And so we need to have that as an option, and we just really kind of don't when teams know to block that option by doing mid blocks and overflowing the midfield. So that's I think our biggest issue. I think if we resolve that, I think we look like a playoff contender, hopefully perennially forever.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one of those, if we're looking at the club as it's constructed right now, okay? The club as it's constructed right now, yes, that is the biggest weakness. But it is also, yes, Luis Abraham has played very, very well, but I still have some questions about his overall ability. And, yeah, I think ultimately there's a bit of that. Braguzan's shot-stopping ability as well to change games for us because, yeah, basically if we get shot at, it usually is not the best thing, and especially on the road, it can be a little bit of an issue, and especially if Braguzan's having an off night. But there's a bit of that. There's a bit of depth as well. I think that kind of will put us to the top where we want to be. The starting 11 is very solid as it's constructed right now. We had a really strong transfer window, but obviously you can see it where, yeah, they're still not match fits. They're still not exactly the sharpest that they can be, and I think that ultimately, yeah, it's kind of put us in the place that we are in, and it's probably rightfully so, unfortunately. Now, in the off season, that's a whole different story because we have no idea who's staying, who's going, and yeah, that will be a whole different story, really. But
it'll be one of the wildest off seasons I think we have ever seen.
It might be, especially if Almada, Miles Robinson, those players end up moving. Yeah, but
Saba comes down from his DP status.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there will be definitely at least that. Shonda Silva as well. He's on loan. I mean, yeah, there's so much to and
possible roster restrictions being loosened. Like it could be wild.
Yeah, I mean, especially with some money to throw around. Yeah, man. Yeah, it bodes for a pretty exciting offseason, that's for sure. Next question comes from Javier Martin 9. His question is weakest link in the starting 11.
I think you probably know who I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I think we could probably just say it together. 1, 2, 3, Hosetu.
Hosetu.
Yep. And unfortunately, that is the case. I mean, it's just, yeah, you know, I think he's a good enough player to a degree, but for a side that has aspirations to win an MLS Cup, yeah, I'm not so sure. We need a more dynamic player than Hosetu. I think Hosetu can be a bench player for, you know, a club like that, but in terms of, you know, automatic starting 11,
way too expensive for a depth piece.
Exactly, and that's just the crux of the problem. But yep. Next question and last question is a kind of trio of questions about Thiago Almada, but Eden, or Eden, with 2 D's and 3 N's and an underscore, asks, what's happening with Almada? Geo Blake also asks, who will be Almada's replacement next season? And Santi Ruiz 423 asks, will Almada play for us next season? I think, yeah, just to kind of sum up that, maybe what's happening with Almada. I mean, maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, I think we can tell rumors are starting to pop up. I mean, they have been for a little bit now. I don't know if they're serious yet. That remains to be seen. I think if we start hearing some crazy stuff in the offseason, we could very much see him go. I mean, he's a well sought after asset. Very high ceiling, very high valuation, done very well in MLS. The world is this guy's oyster, but I feel like it wouldn't make sense to have him here next year it wouldn't make good business sense. Again, Garf says it has to be the right offer and it has to be something they agree on. So if that comes in, I see him going. Whether or not that comes in, I don't know, but I would put the balance of probability on that it will. So, but I'm not super certain. I'd say maybe he's gone 70%, 30% he stays. So that's kind of my feeling on it. Still very murky. The expectation is that he should be gone. He should light up MLS, dominate, preferably win us a cup, and then go and do what Miguel Almiron is doing in the Champions League essentially. So,
and that's what it is.
That's the way I feel it.
Right, is that Garth Lagerwey has said that, yes, if a Champions League club comes in and Thiago Almada wants to go there, then they'll make it happen, and especially if the transfer fee as well is commiserate. So it definitely is that kind of mindset that's, okay, if it happens, it happens. And so, yeah, to your point as well, yes, he has dominated. He is a player that's is a standout player that's I think is earmarked by a lot of clubs, and Europe is gonna come. It's probably gonna be very soon, if not the winter transfer window, maybe next summer, and in which case, we have to future plan. We have to figure out what that next, who the next playmaker is. And I guess the good thing is, playmakers, it's kind of, there's quite a bit of them. So at the very least, there is that. I mean, that's one of the easier things to kind of really replenish in this sport. But it's kind of wild. But anyway, so that does it for the mailbag and pretty much the entire episode, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, which club would you prefer to play in the first round of the playoffs? Reminder that it is a best of 3. So right now, of course, it's Philly, but there's a possibility that we could play, New England Revolution. We could play, maybe if we drop down, unfortunately, Orlando City. So, it is, a flurry of options. Who do you want? Let us know in the comments below, and let us know your reasons why. But, pretty much that is the episode there and there. So remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. For Michael, I'm AJ. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.